Welcome to this episode of our series on The Wealth of Nations by Adam Smith, a foundational work in economic thought. In this series, we present the full text of Adam Smith's writing, preserving the core ideas without dilution. It's a comprehensive journey through the book. In today's video, we dive into Book 1, Chapter 1, of the Division of Labor. This chapter introduces one of the most important ideas in economics, the division of labor, a concept that continues to shape how industries and economies function to this day.
Adam Smith argues that the greatest improvements in the productive powers of labor, meaning the efficiency and output of workers, are the direct result of the division of labor. This concept can be understood by examining its application in various types of manufacturing. Smith begins by stating, "The greatest improvements in the productive powers of labor seem to have been the effects of the division of labor. In essence, when work is split into specialized tasks, workers can perform each task more efficiently, boosting overall productivity."
To fully grasp the impact of the division of labor, let's first consider a simple example from history. Smith famously uses the pin-making industry as a model. To take an example, therefore, from a very trifling manufacture, but one in which the division of labor has been very often taken notice of, the trade of a pin maker. In the early stages, a single worker might struggle to produce even a single pin in a day. But by dividing the work into distinct tasks, drawing the wire, straightening it, cutting, pointing, grinding the top for the head, and more, each worker becomes highly skilled in their specific task. This approach greatly increases productivity. Smith continues, "I have seen a small manufactory of this kind, where 10 men only were employed, and where some of them consequently performed 2 or 3 distinct operations. But though they were very poor, and therefore but indifferently accommodated with the necessary machinery, they could, when they exerted themselves, make among them about 12 pounds of pins in a day."
Let's bring this idea into a modern context. Think about a fast food restaurant. One worker may be responsible for grilling burgers, another for assembling sandwiches, and another for packing orders. Each worker becomes extremely efficient at their specific task, and the restaurant can serve hundreds of customers quickly, something that wouldn't be possible if everyone had to do all the tasks themselves. This is the power of the division of labor in action. The same concept applies across various industries today, from technology to healthcare.
Smith explains that the division of labor doesn't just increase productivity, it also leads to the specialization of trades. As work becomes divided, distinct professions emerge. In more advanced societies, roles like farmers, manufacturers, and service workers become more specialized. In every improved society, the farmer is generally nothing but a farmer, the manufacturer nothing but a manufacturer. As industries develop, societies become more dependent on these specialized roles, each person contributing to the overall economic system.
However, Smith also points out an important difference between agriculture and manufacturing in this regard. While manufacturing can easily separate tasks into specialized roles, agriculture has limitations due to the seasonal nature of work. A single worker often has to perform several agricultural tasks, planting, harvesting, and more, because these tasks cannot be easily separated and carried out year-round. Smith notes, "The most opulent nations indeed generally excel all their neighbors in agriculture as well as in manufactures, but they are commonly more distinguished by their superiority in the latter than in the former."
The division of labor also plays a significant role in the development of nations. In richer, more developed countries, industries benefit from this specialization, leading to more advanced production systems. However, Smith highlights that the same principle doesn't always apply to agriculture. In comparing countries, Smith observes that even though a rich nation like France may have better cultivated lands, poorer nations can sometimes produce just as much in terms of agricultural output, because agricultural work doesn't benefit from the same level of specialization as manufacturing. The corn of Poland, in the same degree of goodness, is as cheap as that of France, notwithstanding the superior opulence and improvement of the latter country.
Adam Smith The remarkable rise in productivity brought about by the division of labor can be traced to three key effects. Adam Smith writes, "This great increase in the quantity of work is owing to three different circumstances. First, to the increase of dexterity in every particular workman. Secondly, to the saving of the time, in passing from one species of work to another. And lastly, to the invention of a great number of machines." Each of these three circumstances enhances efficiency, either by honing skill, eliminating wasted motion, or enabling labor-saving technology. Let us explore each one in turn.
First, specialization enhances skill. When a person performs a single task repeatedly, they become highly proficient at it. Adam Smith explains, "The division of labor, by reducing every man's business to some one simple operation, necessarily increases very much the dexterity of the workman. To illustrate, consider nail making. A smith unfamiliar with the task may struggle to make even 200 or 300 poor quality nails in a day. A part-time nailer may manage 800 to 1,000. But boys who specialize only in nail making can produce over 2,300 nails daily. Though nail making isn't the simplest task, this example shows how repetition builds extraordinary speed and skill. Simpler operations, such as pin or button making, offer even greater gains in dexterity. In today's terms, we can compare this to an assembly line worker in a smartphone factory who becomes a master of a single task, installing tiny screws. Over time, they become far faster than a generalist technician would ever be.
Second, Smith highlights the unseen cost of switching tasks, especially when tools, locations, or mindsets must shift. He writes, "The advantage which is gained by saving the time is much greater than we should at first view be apt to imagine it. A country weaver who also farms loses precious time moving between his loom and his fields. Even when two tasks are performed in the same workspace, switching focus leads to sauntering, a loss of momentum and mental sharpness." Modern research echoes this. Studies show that multitasking can reduce productivity by up to 40%. Smith was already observing this in the 18th century, noting that frequent switching fosters indolent, careless application. When each worker sticks to one type of task, time is saved, focus is heightened, and output increases, not just marginally, but substantially.
The third contributor to greater productivity is machinery, and critically, how it arises from specialization itself. Smith observes, "The invention of all those machines seems to have been originally owing to the division of labor. A striking example, in early steam engines, a boy was required to manually open and close a valve. One such boy, eager to free up his time for play, tied a string to automate the task. In doing so, he unwittingly created a key mechanical innovation." Smith writes, "One of the greatest improvements was the discovery of a boy who wanted to save his own labor." Modern parallels abound, from developers automating repetitive tasks with code, to workers inventing simple jigs or fixtures to speed up manufacturing steps. Focused attention breeds innovation. Moreover, Smith explains that not all improvements come from workers. Machine makers and even men of speculation, what we now call scientists and theorists, have played a vital role. Just like how today, robotics engineers and AI researchers create systems that revolutionize entire industries, Smith saw the roots of this innovation in the division of intellectual labor.
The outcomes of this productivity are not confined to factories. They reach across society. Smith writes, "It is the great multiplication of the productions, which occasions in a well-governed society that universal opulence which extends itself to the lowest ranks of the people. Because everyone produces more than they personally need, they trade. And through trade, abundance is shared. One workman's surplus meets another's need. Even the poorest laborer in a prosperous nation benefits." Smith illustrates this vividly through the example of a simple woolen coat. To produce this garment, the combined effort of countless people is required. Shepherds, spinners, dyers, merchants, shipbuilders, miners, furnace workers, blacksmiths. The list is almost endless. Smith writes, Observe the accommodation of the most common artificer, and you will perceive that the number of people exceeds all computation. What seems like a modest life in a modern society is, in fact, supported by thousands of interconnected efforts. And this, Smith argues, is the fruit of the division of labor.
The first chapter of The Wealth of Nations offers a foundational insight into how economies grow, not through grand theories, but through simple, repeatable human behavior. At its core is the division of labor, a principle so effective that it underpins the very structure of modern society. Adam Smith wrote, "It is the great multiplication of the productions of all the different arts, in consequence of the division of labor, which occasions, in a well-governed society, that universal opulence which extends itself to the lowest ranks of the people." He observed that increased productivity, driven by specialization, yields benefits not just for merchants or manufacturers, but for the common day laborer whose wool coat and simple tools are the products of vast, invisible networks of cooperation. Three forces make the division of labor so powerful: improved dexterity. Repetition makes workers incredibly skilled. Time saved. By focusing on one task, people work without distraction or delay. Innovation through focus. When workers fixate on a single task, they often invent tools or methods to improve it, from nail-making to early steam engines. This, Smith argues, leads to a world where even the simplest object, a shirt, a spoon, a pane of glass, reflects the combined effort of countless individuals. And crucially, it does so without a central planner. Each person, following their own task and trade, ends up serving the needs of many. Every other workman being exactly in the same situation, he is enabled to exchange a great quantity of his own goods for a great quantity of theirs. Smith shows us that economic interdependence emerges naturally, not out of kindness, but out of self-interest, channeled through cooperation. So, as we close Chapter 1, we've seen how the division of labor is not only a driver of efficiency, but also a pillar of prosperity. It reveals how individual actions, when repeated across millions of people, create complex and abundant societies. But there's more to come. In the next chapter, Adam Smith will ask a deeper question. What makes something valuable? Why do some goods command high prices while others, though essential, are cheap? That's the subject of Chapter 2, and the beginning of an even deeper journey into the structure of markets and trade. Until then, remember, every pin, coat, or machine tells a story, not just of function, but of cooperation.
Do you like to dig deeper? Political economy is full of powerful ideas. You're right in the thick of it. Insightful, thought-provoking, expanding every step of the way. From Adam Smith and the rise of capitalism to Marx's bold critique, mercantilism, Keynesian economics, neoliberalism, and more. Or we explore it all, clearly and from every angle. Keep the momentum going. Check the links, dive deeper, and subscribe for more.